How to look directly into infinity. Do you need to be in a deep state of meditation, nirvikalpa samadhi, meditating for a week, 2-3 weeks at a time, to cultivate some very, very profound mystical state, to experience infinity? Do you need to take ayahuasca or some other substance to experience infinity? No. It's right in front of your face right now. The reason we don't think we see it is because we're looking at reflections. We're looking at internal reflections. These are thoughts. These are perceptual filters. But it doesn't change the fact that infinity is staring you right in the face. In fact, you can't miss it. But often the barrier to recognizing that fully is an emotional barrier. It's a fear barrier. There's a tremendous amount of fear often lurking underneath the scaffolding of our personality structures, our identity structures, our persona. The reason we keep grabbing onto thoughts, even thoughts that say, oh, I can't wait to wake up, or I want another spiritual or mystical experience to happen, or I'm struggling with my practice, I don't know what to do next. Even those thoughts are really just the identity trying to maintain itself in some way that's predictable, even if that predictable pattern is uncomfortable in some way. It's not as uncomfortable as going through the fear barrier. So this setup doesn't change the nature of reality. It just keeps attention diverting itself back into the internal movie screen, bouncing around in a house of mirrors of thoughts, beliefs, doubts. It's more comfortable in there, even though we know it's unreal. We know there's something far more vast, far more mysterious that's somewhere around here, closer than we want to admit to ourselves. So when we're looking at what's right in front of our face, what do you actually see? Well, your thoughts will tell you you see an image, a face, a shape. It'll label what's in front of your face. It'll say, oh, I know what that is. That's a wall or a chair or a person. That's my mother, my father, my friend. That's the TV. That's the sky. That's a cat. So those are thoughts. That's the internal movie screen. But it doesn't change the fact of what you're actually looking at. What's really right in front of your face when those labels drop away. Can you feel into that? Let the labels drop. And yet, the seeing still goes on, doesn't it? And right now is often when the mind will start to object to this. It'll say, come on, I know what's in front of my face. I know there's a world there. I know there's a solid world out there. I know there's a body here. I know what I am. I know I'm a person. I know that there's a brain and a nervous system here that's processing information. I know all that. Well, sure, you know it. Those are thoughts, though. So what's actually happening? When you look out there and you think you see a world, you're only looking at a label inside the mind. When you drop those labels, world and me, self and other, subject and object, and the experiences that coincide with them, what's really right in front of your face. Now, if you're able to stay there, stay with that experience, not label it at all, and also not analyze what's happening right now, whether this is a good experience or a bad experience, a deep experience or a shallow experience, but just remain there in the scene, in the seeing, just seeing. Don't move. Don't add to that. Don't run back to the safety of the mind. Just let that be what it is. Let the seeing fully be what it is, and let all labels drop away. but don't move. Don't come back from there. Don't come back to home base. It's mysterious, and that's fine. But don't label it mysterious. It's nowhere specific, and that's fine. Don't label it as such. Just stay there. Stay with the seeing. Notice that even form, structure, would require a label or a thought. They require attention to return back to home base to analyze. So don't return. Just stay with the seeing. The sense of being a seer inside the body is also a thought. It's an image. So don't run back to that. Stay with the seeing. Just what's there. If it starts to lose structure, that's fine. We don't need to run back into the mind and say it's losing structure. It's losing form. These are thoughts. What's formless can't lose form. So just stay with it. That's infinity. Because it has no boundary. It has no source. It has no location. It has no specific origin. It's not out there or in here. Because out there and in here are also thoughts. But when we stay with what is, then we don't even need to concern ourselves with self and other, here and there. What's being transmitted and what's being received. These are just ways that the mind can get a foothold. So in this just seeing, there is no boundary. There's no way to navigate. There's no need to navigate. There's nothing to collect. There's nothing to throw away. Nothing to gain. There's just this, just what is. You might start to notice that it even has intimacy. It feels like contact. But this is a subtle noticing. Don't add that with your mind. The reason this subtlety comes into play is because when there's no sense of a body or a subjective pull, then the sensation field is also infinite. So there's nowhere that this infinite visual experience is out of contact with the sensory experience of aliveness. But don't think about that. It may or may not be clarifying. Just stay with the experience. Stay with the seeing. This is very, very simple investigation. Once the mind is calmed down, this becomes far more accessible. But it's a profound and valuable investigation. You can do this anytime. While you're sitting, while you're walking, even while you're talking. You might be really surprised when it just starts coming forward. So give it a chance. At first it may feel like a practice, like you have to put some effort into it. It will feel like that. But then you'll realize over time even effort is a thought. And then you'll notice this truth of infinity, that you're looking directly into the infinite at all times. That's it. Take this with you. Don't analyze the experience. Don't collect the experience. Just stay in that contact.